Elsjè for I think 8 years. We met in a more corporate environment 8 years ago that she worked with me at Siemens. She is an amazing lady with so much energy, and when she goes for something, she goes 120%. When she puts her heart to it, and her whole story and what she's been through has become her testimony and her ministry now. So she's going to talk to us about that today, and that is being a single mom, and after 10 years, raising a daughter on her own, getting married, and the challenges of a blended family. And the things that we see every day, but there's so little help for it, and God really stirred it in her heart to start this ministry this year. So Elsjè, we are so looking forward. I honor you for taking the step of faith and listening to God, and stepping out and overcoming any fear that the enemy puts against you. And we really pray for the success of this and for so many lives that will be changed. Thank you so much.
Can I switch to English? Morning, ladies.
Morning.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for the time, Janita. Thank you for asking me to share. I think we've just got to wait for the link to show the slides. Yeah, there's a song, so I don't know, Nadine, you're welcome to leave it till the end if you want. It's up to you. Okay.
You leave it to the end.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to share the story today, it's a well-known story. We all know the story of the Israelites, and they were caught in bondage in Egypt for more than 40 years or 400 years. God gave them a promise that He would release them, and He would take them from Egypt to the promised land. We all know the story. We know the wonders and the miracles God did in that time when He sent Moses to show His people His power and His might. So I'm going to bring a little bit of a spin to the story today. So the story is called Headed for the Promised Land. The next slide. Okay, so our scripture is Exodus 13 verse 3 to 4, where it says, Moses said to the people, remember this day on which you came out of Egypt, of the house of bondage and slavery. For by a strong and powerful hand the Lord brought you out of this place. So Moses had to remind the people, remember what God has done for us. Sometimes when we get caught up in a situation or circumstances, we tend to forget what He's done for us in the past. But He is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And He said, and it shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of Canaan, a land of abundance, flowing with milk and honey. Next slide. And so it happened when Pharaoh let the people go. This was a very interesting scripture for me. You'll see something here. God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, even though it was nearer. For God said, the people might change their minds when they see war. That is, that there will be war, and return to Egypt. But God led the people around by the way of the wilderness. So God knew the shorter journey to the promised land would be maybe shorter, but it will. When there's war, the people would say, let's turn back to Egypt because it's close by. So God took them through the wilderness, and through the wilderness was my season of being a single parent. So I got divorced. I've been a single parent for 10 years. So if I give you a little bit of background, I gave my heart to Christ 16 May 2008. My daughter was 6 months old at that stage, and 5 days after I got born again, my previous husband decided to jump the fence for greener pastures. So only 5 days after being born again. And for me, it was hard. I refused to get a divorce because I knew now God said He hates divorce. He knows what it does to people. He knows what it does to the kids and the family. I had a journey of a year where I waited on the Lord before I eventually then filed for divorce, where I asked God if this is His will and His plan for us and for my daughter to go down this road. And Lord, a year later said no. Matthew 19, where there's adultery, it doesn't say you must get divorced. He said then you can. So, but we always tell people I can tell you this, it's always easier to work on your first marriage instead of thinking a second one is going to be easier. Okay, because I'll share with you now. So obviously my Egypt was my 10 years in a single life, single parent. Egypt was my bondage. I was rejected by my husband. I felt alone. I didn't feel that I belonged anywhere. I felt out of place. And in that time, I spent all my time and my energy on my daughter and on God and my faith, and just growing in faith. And in 2010, the Lord showed me in a dream that He showed me my new husband. I knew he had a son of about 16 years old. So I wrote it down and I left it. It was very important for me, and I felt God telling me that I had to be patient. And in that time that followed up till 2016, I had to learn to trust God for every season, for the times when we struggled, we didn't have food. One of my things that I trusted God for was that my husband would provide for us and help us when times are tough. And be careful what you ask the Lord for, because obviously I asked that for the Lord, and He knew I had pride. I had a lot of pride that I had to deal with. So when our electricity got cut at home, I didn't even tell my parents, nothing. So the Lord used people to come and bring food to us. My daughter was, I think, 3 or 4 at that stage of 5. But yeah, I learned a lot of lessons, and looking back, I thank God for that. I got to the point one day where I realized that God loved me so much. That's why He removes you from Egypt. He removes you from that life that you used to have, that the heartache and the person. He knows the end. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Thanks. So obviously we can imagine the freedom that the Israelites felt when, after 400 years of slavery, they were now headed for the promised land. The Lord heard the cries, miracles and wonders followed that showed God's power. Now the time had finally come for freedom. And it's hard to imagine the joy and the relief the Israelites felt. They were going home, but where exactly was home? Joy and celebration was soon quenched when the Israelites found themselves stuck between the Red Sea and Pharaoh and his army behind them. So when I got out of Egypt, God gave me the promise. My husband was on the way. And in 2016, I met my husband. I've been blessed with an amazing new man. And everything, I keep on telling him, it's everything and more what I asked God for and what I prayed for. So my husband asked me to marry him. We got married in June 2019. I know in today's life a lot of people stay together before they get married, but we didn't. We said we're going to honor the marriage. To give you a little bit of background, my husband was also a single father. He's got 2 kids. My stepson is now 20 and my stepdaughter is 16, and my own daughter today is 13, a real teenager. So we got married and we were all excited. We had our dreams and our hopes. I had certain expectations from how life after my bondage, my slavery is going to be. I'm going to have a new name. I'm going to be loved again. I'm going to be protected by my husband. He will choose me above anything else. He will cover me. He will protect me. And the kids are going to be so happy. We got on very well. Zenica and my stepdaughter, they were like best buddies. And so we decided to get married. Okay. So shortly after our marriage, to be exact, about 2 months, we found ourselves stuck between the Red Sea and Egypt. 2 months into our marriage, I wanted to get a divorce again. Because nothing prepared us for the rude awakening. We never understood the kids' experience, how children from a divorce experience a new married life. For us, it was unrealistic expectations. So I'll share a few with you. And that was the first rude awakening that I had to learn or went through. That I had expectations, and sometimes we have expectations, spoken and unspoken, that we don't share with our partner. Where I thought my husband will always protect me, he will always have my back, he will put me first, as in God order, God, husband, wife, children. So obviously there was conflict, there was this different personality styles in the home, that increased the conflict in the house. And I think for me, one of the low points was one night when I had a fight with my husband, and we had a discussion. The kids were involved in the conflict because what happens is, I don't have a relationship really with the stepchildren. So before you get married, you get to know the partner. You build a relationship with him build your dreams around this person. I can see myself with him. The kids get on, so everyone will be happy, and the moment we'll get married, it will be an instant new family. So there's a reason why they call it step family. I learned the hard way. It happens step by step. It's not the day you get married. Now we all want happy big family. One of the things I try to do, my values are a sense of belonging. So I try to bring everyone together. Everyone must love and be happy in the home. They must share the excitement. Unfortunately, my stepson didn't reciprocate the same feelings towards me, and there was tension. So some mornings he would get up, he would say good morning, other mornings he wouldn't say anything. And for me it was hard because I moved out of my home, my own security, my space. I moved into my husband's home that he and his kids chose after we got married. So I didn't have a sense of security in the home. I didn't have a place where I felt I belonged. And the more intense the conflict got, the thicker the blood. So when there's conflict, it's dad and his kids. My husband didn't choose me. Okay. We have to remember that the relationship, the bond is between the biological parents and the kids. And in a biological or a nuclear family where the strongest bond is between the mom and the dad, it's the marriage. Because we get to know each other, we decide to get married, we build a dream together, we decide to have kids, so the kids follow. But in a step family, the kids precedes the wedding. So we never got an opportunity to get to know each other, build a stronger relationship, build trust between us, and then say, okay, now let's have children. The children were there, the bond is there, the trust is there, the loyalty bond between dad and the kids were there. Obviously my own daughter, also after 10 years, it's only mommy and her, she was also so excited to have a new daddy. Also, I can now see the unrealistic expectations she had of a dad. She thought a dad would only have fun with her and play with her, do all the nice things, but he would not correct her. Okay. She also then saw, obviously, the way my husband would treat her when she's at home alone with us, compared to when his kids came over. She also felt that sense of, now I'm the outsider. And I felt that when every second weekend when the kids come over, I was the outsider. So why did this happen? Because there's a relationship between dad and his kids, and they've built 10 years of routine, traditions. They spend the weekend talking about the good old days. So obviously I'm not part of the good old days. So, and my daughter then also felt that she didn't have a place, felt like she belonged. So in those seasons I had to learn that God never says, today I've got time to talk to you. Today I'll choose you. It's in those times that I had to learn that I've got to trust God to be my everything. So I first, because I expected my husband to cover me and to protect me, choose me above all else, my expectation was unrealistic. Okay, I had to acknowledge that and accept that because He will choose His children. And I had to then turn all my emotions to God. So when certain situations happen, for example, with the stepchildren, and they would treat me in a certain way. Remember, they just react. But how I experienced it was my own emotions and my own fears based on my past, what I went through. So I had this fear, I didn't want to get rejected by my husband again because I was previously rejected. And in this season, I was constantly also being rejected by my stepson. So I had to learn that I need to see the situation from a different perspective. So after reaching out, when we hit rock bottom and I felt like I wanted to run away, I wanted to get a divorce, and you don't want to tell anyone because you just got married 2 months ago. When you talk to people, they're like, oh, you're still in the honeymoon phase. I'm like, no, what's that? No, it's not honeymoon phase the moment you get married again, because it doesn't work like that. So I learned the hard way. So obviously when we started reaching out, and I told my husband we need to get help, we don't know how to handle this. When my stepson told me the one day that I'm the bad person, I took his best friend away from him. I knew that there was something deeper here. So I reached out, I started working. There's no help for step families in South Africa for support to prepare them for, okay, we engaged, now we're going to get married. What to prepare them for the common pitfalls, the communication, the discipline styles, the routine. And after mentoring with Family Life over overseas, I realized and learned quite a lot. So for example, I'll share with you. Out of in a step family, the people that experience the most loss is the children. You have to understand that kids that come from divorce have already, they dream of a biological mom and dad being together and forever has been destroyed. They lose the routine, they lose their safety, their security. It's moving backwards and forwards between homes. And then what happens, they lost their one parent because they're not with both parents at the same time. So now the time gets divided. So now what happened is for 10 years, I had my own routine with my daughter. She had mommy's undivided attention. My stepson and his dad are like this. They are super, super, super close. They've got such a special bond. And he's like that, my husband's like that with his own daughter as well. So what happened the moment we got married, we were all excited. My husband and I were looking forward to this. We waited such a long time for this journey to start. But the moment we got married, the kids, the response we got from the children was totally the opposite. The day we got married for them was again a reality check. Again, new change. With more change comes more loss. Kids from divorce experience the loss through every developmental stage. Every time, if they're adolescent, when they're teenager, when they go 16, 18, and when there's a change. If there's a change in routine in the home, now we've got a different holiday, there's no more, I said out with the old, in with the new. I got a lot of pushback because the kids experience lost again. They experience that I don't have my dad's undivided attention. And for the first time I realized that that's why my stepson saw me as the bad person that took his best friend. And I realized that we lost something in that time. We decided we're getting married, we're excited, but the kids experience so much loss. And I think because of the rude awakening that we went through, I realized that I don't want anybody else to wait for 10 years for a life partner to build your own dreams and your idea of what it's going to be like. And then shortly after the marriage, you get this rude awakening. And that's why the divorce rate for first marriages is 50%. Second marriages is 70%. But the moment there are kids involved, it jumps to 70%. Because I wasn't fighting with my husband, I was fighting with him because of the kids. That put my husband in the middle. He felt like he had to choose sides. And it put a lot of pressure on him. And it got to a point where my stepson said, Mom, or Dad, I don't want to come to your house anymore. So our stepson made the choice. So I'm not coming there anymore. And in that, there was a lot of relief because the pressure was off. There was no more fighting. But I saw the heartache in my husband because he lost his kid then. This is not what's supposed to be happening when you get married again. So my heart and my passion is to just prepare people to be better prepared and upskilled and to be empowered to handle this and to look at the situation from a different perspective. My stepson never hated me. It was the position that I took in. It's just the fact that this is somebody that's taking my dad away. He's already lost so much in his life. Now again, we had our first holiday together, and I think that was my lowest point. In the October, I was fighting with my husband the whole time, and by October the Lord told me that your tactic is not working. Clearly you can see this, because it got to a point where our kids were involved in the conflict. Every time there was a conflict, they used to phone their mom, so the step-parent got involved, so taken into consideration. It's not a step family, it's a step forest. Because the moment you marry your husband, you marry the ex-wife, you marry her new partner. If there's kids, you marry them as well, because what happens in that home comes to your home. And all of that affects you. So it got to the point where when there was conflict, my daughter even ran away the one night from home because the fighting. And the parents are supposed to be protecting their kids. That's not what we did. And it's only because we were not prepared, we were not upskilled, we didn't know what we were in for. That December that October, the Lord showed me that obviously my tactic wasn't working, I had to change it. So my husband, I said the weekend, let the kids come, let your son come, I'm gonna go away. And I spent that weekend in a guest house, that whole weekend spent the time praying and asking the Lord for scriptures. So let me just go to the next slide. So the Lord showed me this. He said, Moses spoke to the people, don't be afraid, stand firm and watch God do his work of salvation for you today. God will fight the battle for you, and you keep your mouth shut.
Wow.
Next slide. Attention, Israel. In a few minutes, you're going to do battle with your enemies. Don't waver in resolve. Don't fear. Don't hesitate. Don't panic. God, your God, is right there with you, fighting with you against the enemy. The next one. Don't shout. In fact, don't even speak. Not so much as a whisper, until you hear me say, shout. Then shout away. The Lord, and just like the Israelites, when they walked around the walls of Jericho, for 7 days they had to walk around every day, not saying one word. Can you imagine the battlefield in their minds they had to go through? Not speaking out, not saying anything when the armies were screaming, probably screaming down at them and saying, but you're walking around, you're not saying anything, you're not attacking us, and laughing and fighting and making jokes with them. They had to learn to wait on the Lord, to stay quiet, to spend time with Him. So from that October, I started taking everything to the Lord. If something happened with the kids, I'll give you an example. The one day I was trying to win my son over, so I thought I'll buy him things that I'll get some respect or I'll get some love. Obviously that also didn't work, it backfired. So I gave him this golf shirt the one day, and as I gave him the gift that I didn't know, I said, no son, I bought you something. It's like, he took the shirt and he took it and he turned his back on me. Didn't say one word, nothing. And yeah, in that time, my husband walked into the room. So obviously my son had his back to me, didn't saw the dad coming in. And my husband was like, what's going on now? And I said, nothing. And I just turned around and I walked out. And from that moment, by keeping quiet, the Lord started fighting my battles. And I had to remember that the battle is not against my son or my husband. The battle is against the enemy. They want to destroy the hope and the chance of a second marriage, to bring restoration for the kids here. So I had to learn that this is not about my son or me. This is the enemy we're fighting. So I think my lowest point was the December. We had our first holiday together as a new family. I like to explore. My daughter and I used to go to different places every year, different sightseeing, doing different things. My husband, he likes to go to the same place, do the same things. So I said, no problem, we're going to San Lamia. We're all excited, we're looking forward. I'm already exploring, but what can we do there? And I couldn't understand. You drive 8 hours to go sit in a house at the beach. You don't even go to the beach. I'm like, how can that be? And the one morning, obviously there was the tension between my stepson and myself. You could feel the tension. You could feel this walking on eggshells the whole time. And you know what the enemy does? He comes in and he blinds certain people in the situation. So I asked for the bread rolls. My husband was sitting here, my stepson was sitting there, and he threw it at me. Didn't throw me with it, he threw it at me. So just take note of that. And I looked at it, and my stepdaughter was sitting across from me, and I took the bread, and I just politely gave it back and said, just excuse me. Got up, I got into the shower, I cried a lot. So yeah, the shower is my place now. If you want to cry, go to the shower. You can see the tears. That's my escape now. That's my security now, my place now. I just want to find myself and let it all out. And and I went into the shower. I said, Lord, if my heart is wrong, show me, change me. I said, but Lord, if this is what happened today, if it's not your will, let it be revealed. And God is faithful. As I walked out, my husband came into the shower and said, what's going on? You didn't eat breakfast? I said, nothing. I actually just wanted to take a shower. I didn't share with him what was going on. I didn't say anything. Keep shut. And as I walked out, my stepdaughter told her dad. She saw what happened. And he was talking to my stepson. And what came out, and he only told me this month after, because I never raised that situation. I never spoke about it. And what my husband told me a month later was my stepson said, it's no longer the same. So again, he experienced a loss of the holiday now also being taken away from him. So today we look back, and I'm so thankful. I'm thankful for what the Lord has taken us through. I'm thankful for the journey that I've been down, because I had to learn to trust God for everything. I had to trust God that He knows what He's doing, even if we don't see it. His way is best. And now when I look back, yesterday morning, before I share that, we got to a point where I had to tell my stepson, and I felt I had to tell him that I really stuffed up at being a stepmom. I really stuffed up. And so about 2 weeks ago, we had dinner the one night at the clubhouse, and my stepson just came by and we sat down. He sat down. So we get on very well, a lot better now. I give him his space because I learned. I got the skills, so I learned. You let the kids decide when they come into the house. If he doesn't want to give you a hug, respect that, because you don't know what's happened during that day in his life. So I gave him a space. I'm always open. If he wants to talk to me, then I'll engage, but I'm not pressuring him to build a relationship with me. One of the things I learned, that the relationship between a step-parent and a step-child is not, you can't force that. That relationship is built over time, and that time depends on the child. It's not by the adult. You can't force that love. And those things I learned by the example of the shirt that I bought him, and thinking I can force his love. You can't. The role the step-parent is supposed to play in the beginning is to connect with him, not to correct him. I wasn't their parent. I was telling my daughter, every time I was introducing her to people, I said, this is my daughter. Until I learned, after reading the literatures, that I need to give her the choice, how she wants me to announce her. And she said, I want you to sound your stepdaughter. Why? Because the moment I say, she's my daughter, I actually that's what I say, but what she hears, my mom no longer exists to you. Another loss. So I'm thankful today for so much that I've learned. I got to the point where the other day I told my stepson, I said, you know what, son, I really stuffed up at being a stepmom. And he laughed. He laughed. And even yesterday I sat at the clubhouse and I was working, and he came by with one of his friends. I said, let me buy you guys breakfast. He said, no, you can't take my money. I said, you're not taking it, let me buy you breakfast. But again, yesterday I had to realize that I can't pressure him, because it was with a friend, and I said, no, tell my stepson to allow me. And he said, no, he doesn't want me to. And I said, I respect that, no problem. And time and again, I have to remind myself that it's not my choice. It's not at my terms and my grounds. It's up to them. And today I look back, and I'm so grateful for what the Lord has taken us through. I can see now, and I told my husband now, I can feel, even when my son gives me a hug, it's no longer that hug and let go. I can feel yesterday the pressure is off, because I also realized that it's not supposed to be an instant family. I had to say and realize that it takes 5 to 7 years for a step family to start functioning normal. 5 to 7 years. I tried to do it within a month. Obviously it didn't work. So and our kids got hurt. And that's not the dream or the plan that we had. So now we're at the point where we've got, I've started working together with Intine, the Article magazine, and with Kevin Leo, one of the singers of the Singing Chef, that we're planning to do the first workshop in South Africa on the 10th of April. It's going to be at the With Your Country Club, so the tickets will go out this weekend on iTickets. And my heart and my passion is just to bring restoration to second marriages and people that's trying to take another chance at love. And still today, we don't know how this is going to play out. We don't know. But the promise I made to God, I said, God, even if this is to bring change to somebody else's life, let it be. To restore other people and bring healing to the second and the third generations, because this has an impact on our kids. And and that's my story. So next slides. So one of the positive learnings that came out of this desert moment or wilderness, I had to learn to listen to God and to trust Him. I had to find my strength in God, not in my husband. He won't protect you. He's not always there. I had to understand the loyalty bonds. Your strength comes alone from God. Even last week, God gave me a scripture in Michal. What do you call it in English? Micah. Yeah, Micah. He said, don't even trust your partner. The scripture tells you that. Don't even trust your partner. Because the moment you trust in Him, you've got certain expectations from Him. And the only person we can trust that will never ever turn His back on us is God. So God gave us strength. He gave us direction. I didn't know 2 years ago where we would be today. I had to walk by faith and not by sight. Not to react to what I see, but walk by faith that God has given us a word, and He's given me a promise. Stay committed to your, dedicated to the commitment you made before God. To stay in a marriage and to stay committed to each other, to honor your husband, to have respect and to love. Just keep in mind, the enemy wouldn't be attacking you if something very valuable wasn't inside of you. Thieves don't break into houses. So that's my story. So my heart and my passion is just to bring restoration to anybody that's even a single parent that's thinking, I'm going to get into a relationship now. We need to think forward, how's this impacting my kids? If I've been alone, a single mom for 5 years, what is the impact on my kids? How are they going to handle this? Because they lose mom's undivided attention. They lose in this. And to prepare, how to prepare the children for that next journey after a divorce or after being a single parent. Prepare the kids rather for the journey. Give them the skills, give them the tools, and equip the people so that they know what to expect. Because God says, war will come. The attacks will come. But it's how the armors that we put on. And that's all.